Hello, everyone. Good evening. I just want to check everyone can hear me, first of all. So I've just got Matt with me, who's going to be in charge of the chat box and any questions you may have. So if you can just give us a quick hello in the chat box, just to make sure that everyone can hear me, if that's okay. We've got hello. Yeah, lots of hellos coming in. So hopefully that's quite a good sign. Yeah, that you can all hear me. That's good. This is the first time that we're using this new software, so you will have to bear with us a little bit. We had to change links at the last minute because we didn't have the right technical part set up, so apologies for that, but hopefully everybody's managed to get on that can attend live. It's quite strange, actually. I don't do this sort of thing very often. I suppose it's something I'm going to be doing more in 2019, but I'm sat here at the moment in a room talking to myself, so it's something that you've just got a little bit to get used to. Well, I have to get used to it anyway. So first of all, regarding any questions, I'm sure during the process of the webinar that there's going to be some questions. Please feel free to ask any questions in the chat box. If it's something that Matt can just answer because he's in charge of the questions, then he'll just go ahead and answer those straight away. But I'll do most of the questions at the end where we'll go through those and hopefully answer any questions that may have come up during the webinar. So what is tonight all about? It's a little bit of a couple of things, actually. Firstly, it's something that we wanted to do a lot more of in 2019, because when we started Easy Prep last year, it was almost a year anniversary now, we've had it for almost a year. One of the things was not just having a standard prep centre that just prepped your boxes. Matt and I are very much about supporting the people that support us. So you guys have invested in us, and we want to do the same by investing in you back. And however that might be over the course of 2019, what I wanted to do, first of all, which I think is the area where most people not struggle, because that would be a hard word. I know a lot of you on this call are experienced arbitrageurs or experienced Amazon sellers. So what I wanted to do, and the object of this webinar really, is to help you expand on some of the sourcing techniques that might help you in the early part of the year, because as we all know, in Q3 and Q4 the deals are a lot more abundant, and sometimes it feels like there are so many deals that you can't buy all of them. In the earlier part of the year, in Q1 and Q2, the deals do seem less frequent. I don't know if they're less frequent, but what can happen is, because the more obvious deals where people know where those obvious deals are seem less frequent, what can tend to happen is those really, really good deals that you come across, everyone else seems to come across those as well. And sometimes those deals can get quickly flooded. And unlike in Q3 and Q4, where the sales move a lot quicker, you can feel like you're stuck on a product for ages, especially if the price has tanked a little bit and you've got those penny under reprices on there. So what we want to do is, especially in this webinar, is hopefully give you some adding sourcing weapons to your arsenal that will give you hopefully the added edge over some sources who just look to the more traditional means of sourcing. So, but before I go into that, I wanted to talk a little bit first of all about a big change that's come into effect with Amazon in the last few months, and that's going to have a big impact on online arbitrage in 2019. And that is the reintroduction of long-term storage fees, or for 12 months. A couple of years ago, it may not have been that long ago, but Amazon actually reduced long-term storage fees to a 6-month period. What that actually meant is, if you were sourcing at this time of the year, then you would have to clear out of all of those deals that potentially were good deals at the time when you purchased them, but you haven't been able to get rid of them or to sell them at the profit that you want within the time frame that you thought you were going to. And as we know, when it comes to Q4, when it comes to that busy Christmas period, even if you've bought a couple of stinkers or a couple of deals that haven't worked out that well, there's a good chance that they're going to sell in that Q4 period of time, purely because mainly everything sells in Q4, just to the sheer volume of Amazon's customers buying at that busy Christmas period. So I really do think that this year is a great year to be in an online arbitrage, and especially if you can adopt some added extras to your sourcing capabilities and look maybe where others aren't looking for those obvious deals. And even with the deals that you do purchase that maybe are national deals or bigger deals, with the introduction of the longer term storage fees to 12 months, it actually means that anything that you send in, well, beyond, I suppose, the next couple of weeks, when the long-term storage fees come in from the previous 6 months, you can actually, if you need to, hold on to those deals until Christmas in order to sell them. That's not the ideal scenario. Of course, you want to be turning over product quickly. You want to be getting the profit quicker. However, it's a good safety net to know that you don't have to follow the penny under prices down. And what I think will subsequently happen with that is, because everybody's going to be in the same boat, so all of the other people that may be thinking or maybe going after the race to the bottom and tanking the prices might think, well, actually, I don't need to get rid of it as quickly. So that's what I'm hoping will happen in 2019, that everyone will keep their heads a little bit longer. I know you guys don't do it because I know it frustrates you as much as everybody else, and it's certainly something that we don't teach people to do. We encourage people to hold their pricing, to hold out, because prices do generally recover. It's something I've been looking into quite heavily over the last 6 months, and in my research and the deals that I've been looking at and everything that I've uncovered, I think price recovery, depending on the time of year and, you know, if there's busy sales periods or anything like that, you're actually looking at a period of between 2 and 3 months, 3 and 4 months, worst case scenario, for a price to recover. And it's always when it's like that classic example of when you're 5 feet from gold, people tend to give up and think, oh God, if I can't beat them, I might as well join them. So that's something that I'm going to be talking about more as the year goes on, to make sure that we can try and get into this mindset of holding out and holding for the price that you originally purchased that deal for. So it's really important to know what your sales strategy is if you're going to take that into account. And I think this is a game changer with the 12-month storage fees, that you can hold out that little bit longer. And if you can get into a cycle of possibly buying and holding the deals a little bit longer, if you can get into that cycle of the 3 months, then what you will find after a period of time, this isn't going to suit everyone, by the way, I'm just putting that out there, because I appreciate some people will want to sell quicker than that. If you can get into that period of time of getting behind everybody else who are the price tankers or whatever, who are obsessed with the race to the bottom, then I really do think that there's going to be huge profits for those people that can hand out, that do know how to recognize and read the data to know that the price will recover. Again, that's not what I'm going to talk about tonight, but it is going to be something that we're going to focus on moving forward, because as I said, as a thank you to you guys, I'd like to do this at least once a month, where we go through different strategies, we go through different things in order to really make sure that you're going to be hitting all the marks that you want to hit, and not only preparing and being ready for a really successful Q3 and Q4, but actually not getting suckered into what everyone's saying about, oh, well, you can only make money in Amazon in the last quarter of the year. That's really not true. If you know where to buy, what to buy, and you adopt the right sales strategy, then Q1 and Q2 can be really successful periods. And not only that, you can also buy deals with the the idea, or with you're safe in the knowledge, I should say, that you can hold on to some of those deals for the later part of the year. So I think that's really, really important to introduce. So sales strategy, again, that's something that we're going to be talking about later, not in this call today, but I just wanted to highlight that. The other thing that we will need to look at some point in the future, and I don't want to get political and I don't want to bring everyone down, is at some point we are going to have to take into account how Amazon selling is going to be affected by Brexit and what's going to happen there. I don't want to dwell on that, and I don't want to talk about it too much, because the honest answer is, and when people ask me, we don't really know what's going to happen. The only thing that we know for sure, that is, if the UK does leave the EU on a no deal Brexit, then there is a possibility that European sales through the UK platform may have to be suspended for a period of time. We don't know what Amazon will do. We don't know if it will force everybody. So say, for instance, the European fulfillment network would be finished essentially, and it would force everyone to go down the pan-European route and register in each country for their VAT. Now, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, purely because if that does happen, yes, it is a pain, but it almost reverts us back to where we were 12 months ago before the big European fee price hikes, where people really, it was Amazon's intention to force people onto the pan-European network. But it didn't, it kind of backfired because people thought it was a bit too much hassle in order to do it. But certainly for most sellers, European selling, since the increase in the European fulfillment network fees, has decreased for a lot of people. Now, it'll either go two ways. There's a possibility you might see some Amazon sellers giving up in Europe and saying, well, I'm just going to concentrate on the UK market. If that is the case, and depending what happens, and I don't want to speculate too much, then it could be a really good opportunity in order to get back and claw back some of those European sales that might not be as abundant as they were, say, 12 months ago or after Christmas last year. So again, as we know what is going to be developing with the Brexit situation, how it's going to affect EU sales, we will keep you updated as much as possible, and that's across, you know, all of the platforms that we generally talk to you guys on. So my advice at the moment on that really is just to keep selling as normal, certainly up until the 1st of March. But if we still don't know where we are at that point, that's probably going to be a time that I would suggest pausing everything until we know what's going to be happening moving forward. So that's a couple of things that I just wanted to highlight. The other thing I should have said at the start, before we go into looking at some of the sourcing things, is due to, we didn't know if we were going to have any snow or anything tonight, so I am doing this webinar from home. So I don't think it's going to happen because the children are being looked after, but I just wanted to make you aware if one of the children runs in, I'm not on video, but if one of the children runs in, I'll obviously do my best to let you know if that's the case. So apologies if that does happen. So let's have a look at the type of sourcing that I'm going to talk to you about this evening. What I want to show you this evening is actually, it's not groundbreaking, it's not new, it's actually, it's quite an old technique, and if you've been in online arbitrage for a while, then it's probably something that you've heard of, but it may be something that you might not do because there's been so many advances in sourcing techniques since this originally came out. So apologies for those that already do it, but if you already do it, then it's always good to relook at things anyway, just to make sure that you've got all the latest hacks or all the latest techniques. So I always think it is pretty good to go over those type of things anyway. It's definitely the type of sourcing that I use the most. It's the most reliable way to source for me, especially when I feel like the deals are a little bit low in some of the traditional areas. But I want to stress that it is something that should be used in a combination with all your other types of sourcing. So your traditional sourcing, your copy and paste, any type of deal sheets, hopefully Karen's service, the online arbitrage deals, that's the one that you'll be using because that's definitely the one that's best out there. And, you know, your sourcing software, Tactical Arbitrage, FBA Wizard, Source Mogul, whoever you use to actually go ahead and scour those sites for the deals. And then also manual sourcing, so copy and paste sourcing, which is always and will always be my type of favorite way to source, because it takes a little bit longer. But personally, I've always done it, because when I was doing online arbitrage, a lot of the deal software, deal sheets and things, they just didn't exist. So it was the only way to do it. So as I said, apologies if this is something that you've heard or seen before, but I haven't really seen it talked about that much in some of the groups. So I felt it was almost time to bring it back from the dead, or reignite it, or whatever you want to look, however you want to look about it. So some of the things that I'm going to be talking about, this is what is known as reverse sourcing. Now, it's where we look at different types of brands and we do it the opposite way of traditional sourcing. So manual copy and paste, as you know, will be where you normally go to a retail site, you look through all the deals on the retail site, or you may have had software that will point you to a certain site and show you all of those deals on that particular site, and then you will go through those, go to the site, paste it back into Amazon and see whether or not the deal works for you. Reverse sourcing is pretty much what it says on the tin. We're going to do it the opposite way. So we actually start out on Amazon and work our way back from there. Now, some of the brands that I'm going to show you, and that's how you traditionally do reverse sourcing, is you tend to start with brands or products and work your way backwards. This isn't like a rabbit trail or anything like that. So this isn't the purpose. It's not a paid webinar. I'm not paying to, you guys are not paying for me to show you leads. So what I wanted to do though, was just respect everybody's deals. We do run a prep center, so we are aware of deals that are coming through, etc. So I wanted to stick to brands that I know that are very much in the public domain. I'm sorry if I pick up something that maybe a deal that you might have bought in the past, might be a replenishable. I'm sorry, honestly, there's no intention here. A lot of what I'm doing is blind, so I don't know what's going to come up to a certain extent. So disclaimer, I haven't picked out anybody's products and sourced those deliberately to show you. But I am going to focus on brands that are very much in the public domain, that everybody that does arbitrage does know about these particular products. So this is more about not showing you deals, but this is showing you the technique, if that makes sense. So hopefully, if you're following everything I say, if you could just give me a quick yes in the chat box, just so I can see if that all makes sense so far. Good. Everybody's saying yes. Right, okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you now. This is where it could all go horribly wrong. So again, you're going to have to give me some prompts here just to let me know if you can see what I see. So I quickly jump that over, and I think I must connect one of those. So is that it? Can everyone see that? I'm just quickly looking. Yeah, I've got the thumbs up from Matt, because the chat box seems to have moved. For some reason, it puts this bar up here. I know you can't see it, but I've got to try and move it. So apologies if anything sort of happens. During this process, sometimes I may go a little bit quiet, but that's only because I'm looking at the deal, or I'm looking at something and I'm processing something in my mind. I don't normally do this out loud, so I'll try and talk as much as I can. But yeah, as I said, if I do go quiet, it's probably because I'm trying to think of something. So as I said, we're going to start on Amazon. So we're just going to go to amazon.co.uk, because that's the main site. Make sure you do it on .co.uk. I know it sounds silly, but the amount of times I do go into .com and start searching for things and thinking, oh yeah, why is this not coming up? And then seeing it's in dollars. So how we do traditional how we do reverse sourcing is we tend to start with a product idea or a brand idea. So what I mean by that is we tend to search, and it really does depend on what you do. There's no right or wrong way. So you can start with a couple of things. You can start with a niche. You can start with brands, or you can start with some generic or predictive searching. So first of all, the first thing I'll show you is, if I haven't got any particular brands coming into my mind or anything like that, the first thing I would do, for those of you that know me, know that when I source, I tend to source in some of the best. So for reverse sourcing, for this type of sourcing, it can be used across any of the departments in Amazon, but I tend to do it on the most lucrative ones, which for me personally, I know not everyone feels the same way. It tends to be health and personal care, grocery, beauty, toys and games, possibly a little bit of jewelry. But again, that's something, it really does depend on my personal mood when I'm sourcing. So starting off with generic terms or generic products. So what we're going to look at to start with is just literally, you can do this on a predictive way. So I'm going to go for bubble bath, which is here. But if you want to just think of a word, type it in, that also works, because with this predictive search bar here, it can give you some ideas that you might not have thought of. So say, for instance, I was going for bubble bath, so I start to type in bubble bath, but then all of a sudden I might think, well, actually, bubble solution, I haven't looked at that before. So you can follow it down that way. It really does depend. There's a couple of ways to do it. So let's go for bubble bath. Literally just going to type it in, see what comes up. Over 4,000 results. We definitely haven't got time to go through that tonight. We want to make sure that we're going to be ignoring all the sponsored categories. One thing you also have to take into account when you're looking at reverse sourcing, this is for arbitrage purposes only. So the same sourcing rules apply. We're looking for brands. You should be able to tell the difference between private label and normal products that you can sell on arbitrage. If you can't, if you need that extra helpful hand, then Buybot Pro is really handy for that, where you can go in, and if you're not sure if it's private label, it will give you that warning whether it could be private label. And then what you need to do is go ahead and do some more due diligence on that to see whether or not it can be, a private label product. So you can see here, these are going to be people's private label products. I've got lots of software running on my computer, so apologies if you keep seeing pop-ups and things like that. It's something that, yeah, my computer is loaded with loads of different type of tools and extensions, and I'll go through the type of tools and extensions that I use in order to make this process a little bit easier for me. So as I said, we typed in bubble bath. We want to bypass the first lot because that's generally sponsored ads, which were generally going to be private label products. So I'm just going to grab a drink. And we're going to come in and start looking at some of the ideas. Now, you might have noticed I've got a little tool here, which is really good. You want something similar like this when you're going to be looking at reverse arbitrage, because what you don't want to be doing is you don't want to be looking at products that haven't really got a rank, especially for arbitrage purposes. It's the opposite if you're looking for private label products, but for arbitrage purposes, you want to know if something is going to be in the top 1%, or this is the rank that it's showing here. You can go on there and you can get some more information, but we're not going to do that today, so I'm not logged in for that. But this will show you, first and foremost, the only thing we're looking for from the software at this stage is the rank, to show whether or not it's going to be of interest to us in order to click into it and do a bit more investigation into whether a product is going to be of interest. The first lot for me, you'll have to bear with me because some of these things I know are not going to be suitable for arbitrage, and it's something you learn as you go along, as you all know. So what we're looking for is we're looking for some of those familiar products that may stand out to us that might be suitable to sell on arbitrage. Something like Neil's Yard, that is a product that could potentially be of interest. We can see here that it's 5,000 in beauty, which is a very good seller. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click into that one, have a quick look. Now, in reverse arbitrage, one of the key things we're looking for, like we do in normal arbitrage or normal arbitrage sourcing, the most important thing that we're looking for is products ideally that Amazon are not selling on. So that's the holy grail. Those are the ones that we want to look at, that Amazon are not selling on, that haven't sold on, and we don't think are going to be selling on in the future. We can never guarantee that, of course, but it is something that we do look for when purchasing deals. So Neil's Yard, it's come up. It's ticked a couple of boxes. I can tell already from the information on the front page that it's probably going to be a good seller. So the first thing I would do when going in there, again, this is where normal sort of sourcing techniques come into place, and you look at a little bit of the data. Again, it's sort of getting used to doing it the opposite way round. And we'd have a quick look, but we're not going to look too deep at this initial stage. We have a quick look to see if something is going to be interest for us. And what we're looking for in this first initial stage when we go into it is no Amazon, or Amazon certainly haven't sold on Keeper in the last 3 months. Bear in mind, obviously, we have in the Keeper data and a lot of the other information, I know BuyBot Pro does take this into account, that you have got the Q4 sales data in some of the software. So the rank might not be as good as sometimes you might think it is, especially we're coming out of Q4 now, we're nearly a month out of it. So the data should start stabilizing a little bit more. But I know in BuyBot Pro's analysis, it does take into account things like Q4, and it will give you an average price or an average sales price outside of that busy Q4 period of time. So it's always important to check that. But the thing about this product is that you can tell it's, what price was it? 1940. So even in Q4, the price has actually gone up after Q4, come back down again, but it's gone up. So actually this is relatively, well, I say relatively stable. It has gone up, it has been higher, but obviously we're going to have to tell whether or not this product's going to be of interest. So the first things we're looking for is Amazon not selling, whether or not the rank is pretty consistent, taking into account any seasonal selling. We can tell from Keeper here, over the last 3 months, it's never really gone above 12,000. So again, at a very quick glance, that is going to be something that we could potentially be interested in. All of these things, as you know, become quite easy and become sort of second place once you're used to doing it, and you get quicker at doing certain things. So first of all, that is, I just quickly want to check on the sellers just to check. So we've got we've got cheaper sellers, but someone's holding the buy box that's a bit more expensive. A lot of people matching the same price here. So 22 sellers, that's quite high. Again, not the end of the world, let's face it. We've all seen products where we've seen 100 people on them and you've still gone ahead and bought them. So 22 is not the end of the world, but it's a little bit on the higher side than we'd probably be looking for. We're looking for buyers for reverse sourcing, probably under 10, I would say. 15, definitely still okay, but under 10 is going to be ideal for us. So normally, if we're reverse sourcing, you might think, okay, well, there's a couple of ways you can do it. One of the quickest ways I like to do it is to select the picture, because what we could do is we could just copy and paste this title, which you can do, and then pop it into Google and see what comes up. But a quicker way to do it, and it's a quicker way to identify really whether or not there's going to be any stores that are selling this particular product at a price that we're interested in. So I don't know if you guys can do this. Sometimes you can do it straight off of the product image. Sometimes you have to click the image and expand it to go in it. But it's quickly, no, I'm going to have to click it. Sorry. So I've expanded the image, and then I go on the image, and then I click, right-hand click on my mouse, and I go down for the drop-down, and I'm going to search that Google image. And then what happens is, as soon as I click that, it takes me through to Google, and it's put the image up here. And what's happening is Google searching on that image. So we're not searching on the search description, we're searching on the image. Where this is actually helpful is it's searching on that actual image, because sometimes, especially this is picked up in sourcing software, that it might pick up an image that is similar, or it might be a different size. Don't get me wrong, this isn't perfect either, but there's more chance that it's going to pick up the actual product, because when people list these products on Amazon, they've either lifted a product off of somebody else's website, the source website themselves. So everybody, especially selling on retail sites, tend to use the stock images of that particular product, which is the same product image that's generally used on Amazon. So it narrows down the search a little bit. What will come up very quickly in the search term is the actual Amazon listing. So what we're going to do here is just have a quick look and go through these sites just to see whether or not something is going to be of interest to us. Oh, it's actually brought up the wrong image straight away. Now that can happen. The way that can happen is if the product has either changed recently, or the product is no longer available. So what will happen in cases like this, we can see here, this is the actual image. I suspect if it's the same one, oh no, it is foaming bar. So that's quite unusual actually, that's come up and done that. Probably not a good example. Well, here we go. We'll go in here. This has brought up the right one. And no, it hasn't. And it's an American site. Again, you can pick up some American sites doing it this way. So this isn't probably a good example to start with. I did say that it is blind, so I don't know what's going to come up, obviously. I suspect what has happened, if you're not getting a good hit rate off of the image, then what has possibly happened is that this product has either been discontinued, or the product has changed, or the packaging has changed, or something like that. So what we go ahead and do is just, in that case, go in and copy and paste that into Google just to see if anything else is coming up. So it is quite unusual that that's not picked it up at that stage. So, because it is still available, but as we can see, already looking at the prices, $15.50, that's not going to be anywhere near the sort of price that we'd be looking for in order to match that. We need it to be well under the £10 mark in order for us to consider it. I would take a look at the first few, because this is just the same as any other sourcing technique. If they're all very similar on price, unless you find someone that's got a 3 for 2, I would just discount that product and move on from it. So $15.50, $15.50, $15.50, feel unique, someone like that. You can use additional discount codes, but I suspect that you're not going to get a discount code for anything on Feel Unique around 30% off, which is what you'd probably need in order to make that a relatively interesting product to look at. So we'll discount that one. We'll go back to our original search for bubble bath, because that's what we're looking for, and we keep going. Now, as I said, there's a couple of more tools that we use here to see if we can make this a little bit more viable, and we're discounting, but I can't, why we discount certain products. This little extension, which is free, it will give you that information, but there's also another tool that I use in order to narrow down and make this process a little bit quicker, but I will show you that in a minute. What we're initially looking for is to discount anything that is sold by Amazon. Now, when it's sold by Amazon, sometimes they can still sit in the buy box, but the buy box, they might be out of stock. So there's nothing really that tells you that, apart from the other tool that I'm going to show you. It'll give you a bit more of an idea on that one. So let's just have a look here we go. Let's have a look at Soap and Glory. Those that know me from my personal coaching know that this is a product that we have looked at in the past, but I'm going to have a look. So I'm trying to look at anything that we're discounting for Amazon. So I'm going to click that one. Have a look. On first impressions, again, just having a quick look at that initial thing. We're under 15 sellers. So again, that's what we're looking for. Price-wise, I don't know if this particular product's going to be any good, but let's have a look. Nice, healthy keeper bar. Price looks relatively stable, certainly since post Q4. So again, this one looks okay, and I would definitely give it some further investigation. So I'm going to go ahead, click on that, and look at the image and see. I'm going to remember to shut all these down to have a look. So Soap and Glory, one of the biggest retailers of Soap and Glory is Boots, which is what that's come up straight away. You can keep looking down to see who else sells it, but I don't think they're exclusive to Boots, but I think, you know, Boots sell them the most, and they tend to have the best prices on them. So I'm going to go ahead and click that one. So as we can see here, almost immediately, without sort of further investigation, that there is a 3 for 2 on this particular offer at the moment. Now, it is on this particular one. We just want to check that it's the right one. Yeah, that's right. And so it's 3 for 2, so it's £6.50 an item. Obviously, I'm not taking into account delivery charges and things like that. As I said, this process is not really about finding deals. It's more to show you the technique. So if we times that by 2, that's £13 divided by 3. That makes the buy price for this particular item £4.33. So let's go back in and have a quick look. We'll pop it in Buy Book Pro. Now I've set all my settings to what I think, you know, most sellers would be. I am a VAT registered seller myself, but I've taken that off just for the process of this, because obviously just want to show you what it would be without the VAT, but it obviously takes into account all the fees, VAT on fees, etc. So we'll just quickly, hopefully I'll click off that. Now, so 433, buy price is 11.80 for this particular item. Now, for me, I've got mine set at, I think it's a minimum of £3. So for me, it's saying it doesn't match my criteria. However, with this particular item, certainly from the initial searches, and I'm not going to go on and bore you why I may or may not buy this particular item, but given the fact that there's no Amazon on it, the price looks relatively stable. Buybot Pro is telling me that, you know, you're going to get estimated 17 sales a month. It's not particularly expensive product to buy. Yes, the profit in terms of monetary value is probably less than what we'd normally go for, but the return on investment's over 60%. And looking at the sellers on here, nobody has a huge amount of stock. Possibly the ones that do, well, they're merchant fulfilled anyway, and they're definitely up around the higher amount. So again, I'm not going to go into whether I would or wouldn't, and the reasons why I wouldn't or wouldn't buy this particular product, but certainly from an initial search of searching bubble bath and coming up, what you would actually do then is, if you wanted to stay within bubble bath, you just keep going through the pages, seeing what products are coming up and seeing what products fit that initial search criteria. Then you would go ahead, see whether or not monetary wise they're going to be potentially of interest or potential interest to you. Then you would go ahead and make your buying decision based on that. What I would actually do now at this stage is go in. I've seen that Soap and Glory have got a 3 for 2 on, which means that actually there could be some other potential deals. Now, when you find out about a 3 for 2 on a normal product, what you would do is you would go in on Boots, ordinarily search 3 for 2 or search Soap and Glory, and gradually work your way through potential products that are going to work. Again, we don't need to do that. There's a quicker way, and that is to now go back to our reverse sorts and actually type in the brand. Now what will happen is we're looking at the brand specifically now. So we're not just searching for random bubble baths, we're looking at this search specifically. So again, we start here, we've gone back into Soap and Glory. I'm just waiting for the software to load back up again. I think it's a bit slower when you're sharing your screen and you're on a webinar. But as we can see here, the good thing about this particular brand is, first of all, Amazon aren't really on it, to be perfectly honest. It's a brand, again, we think it's more definitely exclusive to Boots, so Amazon don't really sell it, or they certainly don't sell it at the moment. So what we can do is go ahead and look, and this is where bundles tend to work quite well, especially with the sourcing or the reverse sourcing, so you can look at different options. So that bubble bath we just looked at, it may well be that you want to stick with that particular bubble bath. So then what you would do is for your reverse sausage, you put that bubble bath back in and maybe then add bundle at the end of it, just to see if there's any different options that you can make some good sales or some good bundles up out of that product. So let's just have a quick look here. Again, I could probably pick any of these, to be perfectly honest. So let's have a look at this one, because bundles are generally pretty good when we're looking at profitable items. Less than 12 sellers, which is great. Again, nice lower rank. Price did go down a bit from what we can see. Oh no, not too horrendous, but price has stabilized back up to where we would like it, definitely in the post Q4 period. So initial looks pretty good. 12 sellers. Just have a quick look at the sellers. Actually, this is quite good because there's not loads of people at the lower price. So although the rank might be slightly higher than what we may be looking for in beauty, anything under 10,000 is a slam dunk. It will sell all day long, quickly. But this is quite a nice keeper chart. We can tell that there's sales here. So it's definitely something that we would go ahead and see whether or not it's going to be of interest. Now, the Google search image here might not work as well because it's going to be searching on two images, but we'll just put it in and see what comes up. And it's worked. It's actually looks like it's brought it up. Okay, so we can see again 3 for 2. We can purchase these items. I think the last one was £6.50. So if we go on the same premise, which is £13, divided by 3. Obviously, this was a 2-pack, so this is a bundle. So that's £4.33 each. So we're going to need to times that by 2. So it's £8.66 or £8.67, depending on how anal you are with rounding up. So let's have a quick look. So I put that in £8.67, and we'll just wait for that to work. Again, profit looks pretty good. Buybot's giving me the thumbs up for sales. It says my sales are 20 for this particular item. The sellers are quite good. So we hope that we would get a good percentage of those sellers or of those sales on that item. Again, as I said, this is something where you'd need to do your other due diligence on your buying criteria to say whether or not you would go ahead and possibly purchase this deal. There is quite a few people on this call tonight, so I probably wouldn't recommend, if we do find anything good, picking it up and buying it, because other people might buy it, but that's up to you, obviously. So again, we can see ROI is over the 30% we're looking at. Again, excuse me. Not big bucks, not going to make you rich. However, there's less competition on this. So on this particular item, we would hope that because it's not going out into the public domain as such, or initially it's not going to go out into the public domain, that this is something that you will be able to possibly restack, replenish, and keep purchasing this particular deal. As long as Boots do have that 3 for 2 on, they tend to keep their 3 for 2 on their beauty products quite often, or have them reoccurring. So again, it will be up to you. The person that is holding, oh, they're merchant fulfilled, they've got a little bit of stock. But again, the stock is telling us that most people haven't got loads in stock, and the price looks like it's a possibility that it may go up more in the future, but it has stayed relatively stable over the last three weeks, which again is another buying criteria tick, because if the price is relatively stable, then the FBA sellers that are on there are not undercutting each other. So the price isn't tanking. It did go up and down over the Christmas period, but yes, there may have been more sellers on it at that particular point. And that's when you go ahead and look at that buying criteria. Some people take new sellers coming on the product into account more than others. But as I said, this is still a top 1%. BuyBotBro predicts that it's going to stay as a 1% product. So all indications that that actually looks quite good on that particular product. So what you would then do, I don't want to stay on the same products all the time. I want to show you a few different examples. Then you could go through these products, and what you can do is you can make a quick indication of the ones that are going to be worth looking at. I mean, looking at this page, to be perfectly honest, oh look, we've got sold by Amazon there. Looking at this page, a lot of these products here are going to warrant further investigation into whether or not they could potentially be a profitable item. So as I said, that's something, I don't want to dwell on the same product for too long, but as you can probably see, ranks, sellers, low sellers indicate that this is definitely worth further investigation for you. So that's one way you can look at it. So you can start off by looking under generic term for a bubble bath, shower gel. Tends to work quite well within the health and beauty or the health and personal care and the beauty products. Again, it works really, really well in grocery as well. Searching for generic products under the toy category tends to not work as well, because you'll probably get a lot of private label products coming up in that. So when you're searching within the toy category, it tends to focus more on your searching should be more brand driven, so actually putting the brands in. So let's have a look at something else. So the brand that I selected to have a look at is ELC, so Early Learning Centre. Again, very much in the public domain. So for these people know, well, we don't know what's going to happen with Mothercare in the future. Rumour has it that they are shutting a lot of stores. So it's always been a firm favourite for online arbitragers. So we hope it's not going to be the case, that it's not going to be another victim of the high street. So that'll be one to watch this year, definitely. So what we're going to do here is just search ELC toys and see what comes up. Again, this is very much brand driven. So what I want to show you here is a different way that we're going to look at the products, and a different type of tool. Exactly doing everything that we've done before, but I'm just going to add something in here just to make the process a little bit quicker for you. Now, this is a little bit of paid software. I'm not here to sell you anything, so, you know, don't worry about that. I'm not plugging anything. But I actually use Jungle Scout for online arbitrage sourcing, which you may have heard people mention it in the past, and you might have wondered, because it is primarily a private label tool. So with this particular piece of software, you might wonder where it might come in handy for online arbitrage. So what I'll do is I'll show you. So we've typed in ELC toys, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to launch my Jungle Scout extension. What I'm looking for here is a really, really quick indication of, on an initial search on a brand. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of how Jungle Scout works. That's a whole nother call for something else. But what we're initially looking for, you can achieve it with the extension to a certain extent, which I've shown in the previous search. But what we're initially looking for here is ranks, number of sales. Again, be wary with Jungle Scout. You only have to worry about it at this time of year. It is historic data. It's not predictive data. So it's going to be looking back over the last month. So it's may possibility with some of these predicted monthly sales that they have taken into account the sales from Christmas. So don't rely too heavily. I've got to be honest, it's not massively out, possibly with the exception of sort of the end of Q4. But if anything, I personally believe Jungle Scout tends to underestimate monthly sales when it comes to these type of things that I've looked at the past. But that's just my own personal opinion. Some people think it's not reliable, but we're not really looking at it so much for this type of reliability. It's more important when you're sourcing for private label products. What we're looking for here is the seller. So this is a really quick and lovely way to show us if Amazon is on a particular listing. Now, again, I'll probably show you something in a minute where this particular search or another search would bring up and it's just got loads of Amazon on there. We're not really interested in that. We're looking for products that are driven by Amazon not being the main seller on these arbitrage products. So ELC. Now ELC very recently, up until about 6 months ago, was Amazon did jump on these products. I've done really, really well with ELC products, selling those in the past. All of a sudden, Amazon came on. Unsurprisingly, Amazon actually did share the buy box and they didn't tank the price. So it wasn't too bad, but again, whereas I would have gone quite deep, especially going into Q4 on these type of products, I was a little bit more conservative this year in searching, in buying those, especially on 3 for 2s and those really, really big national deals that everybody knows about. I was a little bit more conservative, and a lot of the ELC products that I'd sold in the past, again, were sold in Europe, places like Italy and Germany and France that were very, very popular. But because they're slightly bigger items, the EFN fees and the increase in those European fulfillment charges did unfortunately tank a lot of what were replenishable items for me. But it looks like Amazon have actually come off quite a lot of the products. Don't know the reason why. It's something we might find out when we look into them a little bit more. But from initial glance, we can see that Amazon they're not dominating these particular toys as much as they used to. So that's the main thing that we're looking for by launching Jungle Scout here. It's just a really quick indication of whether or not a category or a brand is going to be worth looking at and delving into a little bit deeper. And in this case, yes, it is, because we can see that Amazon are on 3 or 4 of the listings, but certainly the top 15 listings that have been brought up in those search. And don't forget, those are going to be the more popular listings because they've come up higher in the search. Then that's going to be of interest to us. So again, you'll see me popping up Jungle Scout here, there and everywhere. So we're going to be looking through those. That's a little bit high for toys and games this time of year. Again, when it comes to toys and games on the BSR, I would always say anything under 100,000 is safe. Anything under 50,000 is a slam dunk, like beauty with anything under 10,000. But don't be scared if it is up near the 100,000. I have had many a successful product, certainly up to, I would go as far as 150,000, possibly a little bit higher in the busy Q4 period. There are going to be toys within that period because they're not as sexy, they're not as attractive to all sellers who have been told, whether it be by a course or someone that's taught them or coached them, to only buy toys under 50,000. Only in America, I think they're told to only buy toys under around 28,000, which, considering the market is even bigger, is just mind-blowing to me, or mind-boggling, to be honest. So don't be scared. There's going to be less competition with anything above 50,000, anything above 75,000. Yes, it might slow it might be a slower seller, but if there's less competition, that kind of leverages it out, that levels it out. So you might get as many sales as you would have done with a faster selling product, but the good chance is, because there's going to be less people jumping on it, there's a good chance that the price is going to hold better, and you're going to keep that ROI as opposed to it going down. So as we can see, as we're going down, that one is sold by Amazon. You can go through the Jungle Scout. I've got some sponsored products coming up here. I don't know why they're coming up. I don't get Amazon sometimes. Sometimes it shows you in different layouts why things has come up, and I really don't know what happens. So apologies as I'm sort of scrolling through those. I've got loads of sponsored products here, so we definitely want to ignore that. That's Crayola, so we tend to want to keep away from that. Now this could be of interest. It's not showing us whether Amazon... Oh, another thing that I was going to say, actually, I meant to show you. I can't show you it on this page, unfortunately, because on the more grid layout page, when you're looking at Amazon, if you're not going to have Jungle Scout, or if you're not going to use an extension like this that will show you up front who's selling what, then a good indication on whether or not Amazon might be holding the buy box on that particular product tends to be the selling price. So if it's even prices, if it ends in a 99, a 95, if it ends in 20, so if this was £23 or an even number, an even sort of variation of a number, then there's a good chance that Amazon could be selling that, because they tend to sell in those type of decimals. So, but we'll keep having a quick look. This one is sold by Amazon. I don't know where it's gone. Yeah, I don't like the layout of this. I don't know why it's brought up this layout, so I think it might be going back. But anyway, let's go back to that one that I just found. Just check if Amazon are selling it, because it wouldn't tell me. For some reason, it wouldn't tell me on here. Okay, so it's not sold by Amazon. Let's have a quick look. The rank has gone up over Q4, but the price was a little bit lower. But again, that's probably gone up more to do with the rank being dying down more after the Christmas sales, as opposed to an instability in the price. Again, 3 sellers, so not a lot of sellers. So let's just have a quick look. We'll click on this one and see if we can find anything relating to this particular item. It's just taking a little while to come through. Now, again, what we may find is if it's not bringing it up, and especially if Amazon are bringing it up well before Early Learning Centre, it may well be that they no longer that. But let's have a look at Debenhams, see if they've got any. So it is an indication that this is, oh, and it's a pink one as well. So that's not going to be any good. I would suggest Baby Bunting. It keeps bringing up the pink one, so it might well be that this is a change in price, and that's an American site. Okay, let's go back and quickly search on the title. Get rid of that one. Just make sure that it's removed if you're going to do it like that. It does look like, it's quite a stable price. So again, it's not going to be something, and there's loads of different pictures bringing it up. We'll have a quick look, but again, I don't think it's going to be, oh, it's taking me through an affiliate link. How lovely. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be of interest to us for that particular item, and I didn't like the layout that it's bringing up, so I might try and search on something else. I prefer this layout. Oh, it's done it now. I honestly don't know why that did that, so apologies. But again, that one's sold by Amazon, so let's have a quick look. So I might have missed something as we were going down. So, oh, sorry, these pop-ups. You have got to get used to it, I'm afraid. Not handy when I'm sharing my screen. So those are the best sellers. Sold by Amazon, sold by Amazon. So here we go. We've got one here. Pop it in the post. Again, I'm sure many of you may have seen this particular product over the years. So 2 FBA sellers. So that's really low sellers, actually. So let's have a quick look. And yeah, so 3 sellers. I'm probably cheating a little bit here because I do know that this is quite a good price on Amazon for this particular item. That's why it caught my eye. Again, when you've been doing it as long as I have, you tend to remember prices and sell prices for things. So again, looking at it, popular sale, it did go up to 70,000, but I would suspect that that is to do with that price jump. Oh, it's not a huge price jump. It was lower over that Christmas period, but again, nothing we can really expect. So yeah, that all looks pretty good. So let's have a quick look on the image search. Again, you really can copy and paste it. It really is up to you. I just find the image search quicker because, to be perfectly honest, it works better for me. So let's have a look at ELC. Pop it in the coast, £20. So yes, there's a delivery charge, but £20 for that particular item is, even in my rubbish maths head, potentially looks like there's going to be some profit in that. So let's go back. £20. Now that is at full price from what I can see. So it's not taking into account whether or not there's going to be any additional offers on that. So what I'll do is I'll show you something else I do at the next stage, whether something may have some additional. So obviously this isn't even taking into account all of your cashback that you should be using. Sites like Top Cashback, Complete Savings, Quidco, whoever you use, compounding with the fact if you're using any type of points cards, loyalty cards, credit cards where you may be getting Nectar points or Avios points, everything that I'm showing you now is just basically on the prices that we're seeing. It may well be, once you delve into these products a bit more, that you might be able to find additional discounts and make even more margin out of these particular items. So I mean, as we can see here already, without even looking at anything, and Mothercare are pretty good. They tell ELC, depending on, don't forget, if you're looking at Mothercare and ELC, they're 2 different sites, and sometimes they do have different voucher codes, or they do have different offers on the site. So before you go ahead and purchase it on one site, just check it on the other site, just to make sure that there's not going to be any more additional savings that you could make on that particular product. But as you can see on this item, 43% ROI, £8.65 profit. Buybot is giving me a below average. I think that's really because it's suggesting that, as we could see here, that the price has been quite low. So, but again, that's reflective in its sales rank. So all the people probably that have purchased it back at a deal, I seem to remember, I would have thought it would have been on 3 for 2 at some point during this time, because that's when everything's on 3 for 2 or buy one get one half price on those type of sites. So anybody that held out onto that, maybe, well, I suppose it was £20 on 3 for 2, there possibly still would have been some good margin even at this price over the Christmas period. So, but again, this is something you'll need to delve into a little bit more. But certainly it's 1% now. It's still predicted to be 1%. There's hardly any sellers on this particular item, and it's given us a good profit indicator. If we can find any further discounts on this, then it's just going to give us that extra reassurance that we can make some more money out of this particular item. So again, definitely worth looking into a little bit more to see whether or not that's going to be of something of interest to you. Again, I know I keep saying it, apologies, I keep repeating myself and say I'm not here to show you deals. So if you were to come across this deal, you would then apply your additional due diligence to this deal and see whether or not it's going to be something that you want to go ahead and buy, if you can find further discounts on it, or if you can find a better price. I always encourage people, don't buy the first one that you see. Go ahead, put it in Google after that, see if you can get it any cheaper, see if another site is running an offer, search those voucher codes. I will do it here just to show you the 2 voucher code scanners that I use. I always used to use Pouch, 100%. It was always my go-to one. Then I found out about Honey, which actually inputted the codes for you. Whereas now I use a combination of both, because Pouch input your code as well. And they're giving me a little indication that there might be a deal here, but that is a general sale, which I might have a look at in a moment anyway. Because don't forget, you don't need to, if you're doing this type of sourcing, if the sourcing leads you somewhere else, go ahead and follow up that lead. Don't just think, oh, okay, well, I'm only going to use reverse sourcing now, so I can't possibly follow this deal up. Absolutely not. You know, make sure that you go ahead and click on it and see whether or not it's going to be of interest. So what we just quickly do here, just going to add them to the basket. You would get free delivery on this if you're going to be purchasing them. So I just want to make sure you guys all know how to use the voucher code Chrome extensions. So Honey's already telling me that they haven't got any current coupons for this. Pouch was saying that they didn't have any. I still don't rely on that. I will still do a good search on Google just to make sure if there is any additional discounts that can be used on these items. So it's definitely worth going ahead and having a look at that. But as I said, follow up on the leads that the software, all these little tools are giving you. So let's just quickly have a look at this, see if it's going to bring anything else up for us. And again, it really is just this process of leading you into deal after deal after deal, hopefully good deal after deal, that aren't coming up on the standard domain. This is going to be a public deal, obviously, because it's big discounts, so people will probably know about this. And it does look like it's focusing on Happy Land, which again is another arbitrage firm favorite. So that's a very good price for that particular item. So I can see that there's lots of Happy Land here. So what I would now do ordinarily is go back in and now have a quick search on Happy Land. Let's just click Happy Land toys. Really does depend on what search that you want to put in, Happy Land or Happy Land toys. Again, just let the predictive search have a look at that for you. And looking through that come up again, looking through some of these items that may have come up in the search. Again, you can use Jungle Scout here, but as I said, this is I think I saw that on there. Yeah, the pirate ship. I've lost my screen, sorry. Pirate ship, so we can go in and have a look. 127,000, possibly not going to be of interest at that rank. Again, that will come under your due diligence. 14 sellers at that rank, that might be a little bit too high for competition. But again, if there's not going to be 30 or 40 people jumping on it, it could be of interest, just be something that you probably wouldn't go too deep on. So just quickly popping that into the buy bot, having a quick look. We know Amazon are not on it. Keeper's telling us that they haven't been on this particular item. We know we can get it for £20. It's 50% ROI, £10 profit, above average, even with the slightly lower sales. If this was this side, if we were the other side of Q4, I would ignore the rank and just purchase this particular product all day long. But it is a slightly higher rank. So I'll just have a quick look just to see if there's anything else. I'll take out the toys. So it might just give us a more of a, it's a better layout, which I prefer. It must be to do with the search terms that you put in. So if we just go through and have a look, and you can see the Cherry Lane Cottage, I did see that there was in there, but I thought I saw that that was 30, so that's probably not going to be, actually let me shut down some of these. That's probably not going to be, but again, you can get to this point now and you can say, okay, well, I'm going to have a look at this one, because this is, I know that's, again, slightly cheating, because I do know that that's a relatively good price for that. And that's where you go back to more your traditional searching method, and you can then paste that in, see what it comes up with, if it comes up with anything. Oh, that's very low down for that item. Sold by Amazon, unfortunately. So that's possibly why it wasn't coming up in the set. This is good, because this is what I wanted to show you. The price didn't indicate that it was sold by Amazon. So it's £40. It is being sold by Amazon. They've been out of stock for a long period of time, and it looks like they've only just come back into stock. So unfortunately, again, it depends. You would then, because I'd imagine at that price, that's going to be a relatively good seller, or a good buy as such. You can have a look and you can take into account whether or not you feel that Amazon, when they have been in stock in the past, are going to share the buy box. So again, I don't want to focus on the same thing for too long in particular. This really is to show you the process of the sourcing. So we'll just take appreciate time is precious, and I do like to talk on these things, so apologies. I don't want to keep you all night, but I just want to make sure that the technique is coming across more than everything else. So I don't know if you just want to give me, I've talked for quite a while, just give me a yes in the buy box if this is all making sense so far. It's not rocket science, no pun intended with the rocket, but I just want to make sure that it's coming across in the way I've intended it to come across. It's flashing at me, the chat box, which I think I'm frightened to press anything, because I'm frightened that I'm going to turn something off. So I'll probably ask Matt to come back and join me in a minute when we go into the questions section, just to make sure that it's all coming across. He's just walked in and given me a thumbs up, so that's okay. So let's just have a quick look at a few more items. Again, I do tend to focus on more of these sort of brands that tend to fall within the beauty and health and personal care, so I'm sorry about that. It's just the way that I source in particular. So one brand that I always tend to find a few little hidden gems in is Molten Brown. So it's quite a high-end brand. You don't tend to come across it. It's one that I wanted to have a look at and show you, because there's going to be a mix here of being a popular brand and a brand that there's a mix of whether Amazon will sell. So it's another good indication to show you on the Jungle Scout whether or not we want to stay away from something. And straight away I can already see Amazon, 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 Amazon. Non-Amazon. 4 sellers, or probably a lower amount of sellers. So it's a gift set. Gift sets are great post Q4, post Christmas. So it's what I always recommend. I tell people in the groups, if you can pick up discounted gift sets, then they tend to sell really well post Christmas, unless they're Christmas themed. Don't go and buy a load of Christmas stocking gift sets. They're not going to do so great. But it's the things that people tend to bring out for limited edition, things that might be attractive for people to purchase on Valentine's Day or Mother's Day. Some of those post-Christmas holiday seasonal buy days that people will spend a little bit more than they would spend on the average birthday present for something, and gift sets are fantastic for that. Gift sets are also great to buy post Christmas if you can also break them up and sell them individually as well. So that's another little tip. So let's just have a quick look. It looks like it's one of the only products that is not sold by Amazon on here. It's got a little bit of a funny keeper, but still good. Highest, oh, that is quite high for beauty. But it looks like it's come down. Actually, it's possibly because there may not have been many prime sellers in that period, or it may have had very low stock. You'd have to look into the data a little bit more, again, as to why the sales rank really did jump. I would say it is probably just because it's a very quiet period of shopping time there. But we can see prices, again, relatively stable. Amazon are not sniffing around this product from what we can see. So it may be a limited edition. It says it's new, exclusive. Yeah, possibly something like that. So 35. So actually, is that person even prime? Yes, they are. All prime, funnily enough. So again, initial indication looks good. Something like this I probably would search on the image, because Molten Brown, in my experience, tend to recycle products in the sense that they might have sold something similar, but it might have had different flavors in. So just watch out for, or scents, not flavors, because you're not going to eat it. Scents, you know, fragrances, I should say. So let's have a quick search on that one and see what comes up. And genuinely, so we've got John Lewis. John Lewis are really good for Molten Brown. They tend to, but we can see here, as I was just saying, it looks like this is products that has maybe been released in the past and it's changed. We've got Selfridges, or it may be a product that's selling at the moment. You just need to go ahead and have a look. So let's jump in. Special buy, £25. So at that price, and it's a different product as well, so that one's not going to help. Oh, sorry, come back. Let's just have a look. Look fantastic. Again, unfortunately, product's out of stock. So again, unfortunately, it might be something that the product is, oh, here we go. Was this it? What I've just brought up, the special pie. Ah, £20. So let me just go in and check. Yellow, peach, pink to red. Yellow, peach. Farthing colour. It may not have brought it up because it is actually got a slightly, so this is a really good example actually, because this probably wouldn't have come up on a copy and paste search, but on a product search, on an image search, it has brought it up. Again, I'm not saying that that's gospel, but from what you've seen initially, it was bringing up different types of products. So we can see here that it's in stock. It's £20. So I'm not sure, given the price, I don't know how big it is. Let's just have a quick look. Yeah. So from that point of view, and again, this is without any further investigation, whether or not I can find it cheaper from another retailer. John Lewis, we know, is a very online arbitrage friendly retailer. So we know that we'll be able to purchase a good amount of those. All indications tells us that the price is stable. It's a good seller. It's a good rank. Yes, we had this blip here, but you could most definitely attribute that to the fact that this is the quietest time in Amazon's buying calendar. So it's had a little blip there. Yes, you've got someone here that has got quite a few of these in stock. But the good thing from what you could see here with this particular item, it's a special buy. It looks like it might be some sort of limited edition or special edition set. So Look Fantastic was out of stock, or Full Unique, or whoever it was. So this could be something that you could probably go ahead and go relatively deep on, knowing that products, knowing that not too many sellers could come on and tank the price. Again, prices stayed relatively stable on this item. It's actually probably a little bit lower than what it was. So yeah, looking at that, I would I know I said I wasn't going to go into saying what I would buy and what I wouldn't buy. I'm actually a little bit annoyed I've brought that up on a public search, but it's something that I would definitely look at buying all day long on that particular item. But as I said, Molten Brown is a very hit and miss brand. So you can look at that brand and you can look at it and you can spend 20 minutes looking at that particular brand and not uncover anything. If I bring up Jungle Scout here, just to show you that, because it is something that is very heavily Amazon stocked, but you just want to make sure that you're hitting the FBM or the FBA examples. So is that one. So if I'd have bought that up on Jungle Scout, I probably would have found that a little bit quicker, because it's the one standing out like a sore thumb. And there are a couple more in here. So there you go. There's another set that possibly could be worth further investigation. Another set there, it's possibly a little bit high, but as I said, they're the ones that stick out like a sore thumb. So I'm not going to go into any more examples because I think that's probably shown you enough of the technique to show you what you can potentially do with it, where it might be a benefit, where others, I'm not saying that deal services or software are not going to bring up these deals, but deal software is less likely to bring up that type of deal because it was having a little bit of a mismatch on the name. So by searching on the image, there's a good chance that you might be able to narrow down that product a little bit quicker, and it might not come into the public domain as much as somebody who is looking for it on deal software like Tactical Arbitrage, which relies on matching the words and matching certain things. So hopefully that's highlighted it to you. Now, the only other thing I was going to mention, which can be used as a really good way to make money and to top up your income over traditional buying, it may well be that there are certain products that you don't want to buy for whatever reason. It might be budget reasons, it might be you've already bought a load of one particular item, whatever. I'm not going to go into the details, but this particular sourcing, this way of sourcing, again, is not so much in the public domain. So another way that you could utilize this type of sourcing to top up your online arbitrage income is to use Karen's deal arbitrage service. So what you could do is, if you can find the right criteria that she's looking for, is you can find yourself coming across lots of lovely deals that you might not have all the budget to buy for, or you might not have all the inclination to buy, or you might be quite happy just handing over that deal. Then you could actually go ahead and use this type of sourcing technique in order to sell those deals back to the deal arbitrage service. As far as I'm aware, the arbitrage services is still paying out £10 per product. So if you could find an additional 20 deals a month using this particular item, that's an extra £200 in your pocket, providing they're authorized, obviously. They do have to fit a certain criteria. I think it's more along the lines of, I think it has to be a minimum of a £4 profit, a 40% Bible Pro score, and also I think it has to have a certain amount of sales per month. But what I'll do is I have got all the criteria, and I'll pop that in the group, or I'll pop it on Click just to show you what the criteria for those that haven't possibly thought about if you've been relying on other sourcing techniques that maybe are already being used to source deals for online arbitrage deals, then using technique like this might give you that added bit of extra edge over some of the other people that are looking to sell deals back to Karen. Hopefully that all makes sense. So I've spoken for a really long time. I've gone really hoarse. I hope I haven't bored you. I just want to thank you for taking the time to listen to me. Hopefully it's all made sense. But if you've asked any questions, I'm not sure. Matt's just come into the room. So I'm just going to quickly have a look and spend a few minutes going through those. Let's just have a quick look. So we've got Anna's come up and she said, my buy bot was showing 44 result on the Molten Brown. I'd love to know what setting are on for yours and why is mine so low. So yeah, I can have a quick look at that. Let's just have a quick look. We've gone back into, I take it you meant this one. My prep fee is probably a little bit lower, I would say, because I did have it at 5%, not 5%. I do have it. Where do we go into the settings? Oh, sorry, it's up here. Yeah, let's have a quick look. I don't put the shipping cost in. I haven't put the shipping cost in there. It is obviously taken into account. I have taken out the non-VAT registered, but again, I don't see why it's coming up so much different. Maybe someone could enlighten me on that. I'm not sure. But those are the settings that I've got for BuyBot Pro. It may well be it's come up better criteria because I haven't got the profit settings on or something, which I don't tend to use. I love BuyBot Pro. I love all the percentage and everything like that. But as a buyer, I tend to go more for yeah, Anna's just answered. Prep fees are 75 and shipping. So yes, I haven't taken into account. I haven't taken into account the prep fee for that. Presumably, it's still coming up at a relatively. Oh, I've put shipping. Oh, I've put prep fee. So I've put my prep fee as my shipping fee on there. So presumably, if you adjust those, it will still come up as a good deal on that one. I tried to adjust my my settings to take into account what I thought the average buyer on the call would be, but even if I probably pop those in, it will probably still come up as a good. But yes, I haven't taken that into account because obviously I don't have the prep fees because I do own a prep center. So yeah, apologies for that one. Hopefully that's answered the question. Any other questions, Matt?
No, I don't know if people have got any other questions you want to ask.
Is there any other questions? I'm just having a quick look. If I click on that, does it give me the questions? Yeah, Anna said that's answered. That's fine. Sorry, this is new software. So, oh, Q&A. 4 opened. Bear with me.
I've answered as I've gone along for you.
Okay, so Matt's answered as he's gone along. So most of those should have been answered, unless I'm missing something. I think, oh, I don't know, I do see questions popping up there, Matt. Sorry about this, guys. What am I? I'm not sure if I'm missing those. Ah, there we go. Ah, that helps. Oh, Chrome extension. Matt, what is the Chrome extension called?
It's Amazon DS Lite.
What?
So if you look in your Q&A box, you should see I've put the link to it, and I've also put it in the chat box at the top there.
Okay, so someone said, where do we get the add-on that you've been using? Jackie's asked that. Jackie, is that the Chrome extension? If you could just let me know, I'm sure it is. Just saying thank you. I'm just going to go back through the add-on. Yeah. Okay. So I think all of the questions have been answered. I think Matt's probably gone. Now, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. There's not many questions, but hopefully it's all made sense. As I said, nothing groundbreaking here. It is something that I try and utilize as part of my other type of extension, as my other type of sourcing technique. Sorry, I was just reading questions as we're going along. My other sourcing technique. So it's something that it's just an added weapon in that arsenal, just to make sure that you're covering all of those bases, and just to make sure that you're giving yourself the best chance for sourcing those products where other people might not be in 2019. This has been recorded, so we will pop it in depending on where you've come through. I've got some private coaching clients on here and Easy Prep clients, so this is a private webinar, so I'd appreciate obviously if you can keep the information private, because you guys all use paid services from us, so we want to make sure that you're getting all of the benefit of our knowledge before, you know, the general sort of arbitrage public. So please, well, it's up to you. You can you can do what you like with the information, but as I said, we will post the replay. If you're an Easy Prep member, it will be posting Click. I know someone's just asked, what is Click? Click, Alison, purely is our internal messaging system that we use for Easy Prep, how we communicate with our members. Don't worry, you're not missing out on any type of mind-blowing arbitrage software or anything. So if you are part of the private coaching, so the AIS group, then don't worry, I'll post everything in the Facebook group for that. I won't be posting anything in my public group, because obviously I just want to make sure that you've got all of the information and it's kept for yourself. Jackie's just said, where is the Amazon DS Lite? Jackie, will pop that in the group in a little while, just to make sure that you've got all of the information in there. So if that's everything, I'm gonna love you and leave you and say goodnight. Thanks very much for listening. As I said, this is definitely something that I want to do more often. I hope you've enjoyed it. Apologies if I've overspoken or babbled a bit. I've been a bit a little bit on the nervous side, so any feedback is always welcome. And yeah, just hope you've enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll speak to you all soon. Please do ask any questions in either Click if you're an Easy Prep member. If you've got any additional questions, anything that you've thought of afterwards, please feel free to drop me a message either on Facebook or Click, and we'll be happy to answer any of those questions. But thank you very much. Thanks for listening, and I will catch up with you all soon.